is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. But I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Don't take no back talk, no bribe or no joke. If you find fire, you definitely find smoke. Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro.
Good night, Bahamas, and welcome to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I am your host, Valentino O'Brien, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City that premieres every Friday, except holidays, at 6:30 to 8 p.m. Our telephone numbers tonight on Guardian Radio are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, and you can text us, powered by PTC, at 422-GR96. And you can listen in Cable Bahamas 969 on the radio dial. And again, I'd like to say a wonderful good night to each and every one of you. I hope you're enjoying your Friday night. And today we're going to do a continuation from last week. But this week, we have a very special guest who has been in the game for a very long time. When we look at some of the current events that has been occurring over and over in the country for over 40, close to 50 years now in the country. And we've got people who have dedicated themselves of making the public aware, the government officials aware. Not only that, they're not just talking. They also decided to help develop a center to deal with the less fortunate in the country, whether it's male, females, and groom them to make them a better person and teach them what is right and wrong by helping them come into a community that assists them, and that's the Bahamas Diplomat Center, and that was led by the late, great Miles Monroe. And in studios today, we have a student who took up the art of Miles Monroe and has continued the journey as to make awareness what we are facing now in the country, and I think it's time for us to listen. Again, I want to say my heartfelt, how should I say, pain that I'm feeling for C.B. Morse. He's in Duscoma at Doctor's Hospital. C.B. Morse is similar to this gentleman in studios today who have been advocating for years on what the problem is in the country, what we need to do to fix the problem in the country. And for many years, they've been an advocate. So I just hope that with God's grace that Mr. Morse in his induced coma continues to get better, and that one day we would see him open his eyes again and speak again. There's only so far you could go in life. And I hope that when Mr. Morse regains his health and strength again, that, you only could go so far. And I was just talking to my guests in studios that I'm reaching my goal now. When I said I've done enough, I'm retiring, and the country is going to have to be able to help itself. Well, my special guest in studios tonight is the lead pastor of the Diplomat Center, the Bahamas Faith Ministries, Pastor Dave Burrows, and we've been friends for a long time. We have not been in touch on a regular occurrence, but over the years, we've always been able to do the same thing in different aspects. But I want him to have him come on today because he made a presentation at the Ministry of National Security, where he is an advisor, on the advisory board, finding solutions to the many problems we face in the country today. And he made his presentation at that particular meeting. And I wasn't there because I am also a part of the board. My truck transmission went out, so I couldn't make it. But it was sent to us via Facebook. And I wanted him to talk about his presentation and what it was all about. Because reading the newspaper, we were seeing a lot of murders. We've had 9 murders so far for the year. And Mr. Burroughs only going to be in for 30 minutes because he has some next appointment. But we're going to do our best to get him on there to give us an insight in this 30 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Burroughs.
All right, Scrooge, it's always a pleasure to be on your show. I think this is actually my first time, but it's always a pleasure to communicate with you. 'Cause like you said, we go way, way back.
Way back.
And you've been doing your part trying to help, eradicate the problems in the inner city. So we really appreciate that. But, regarding the topic of the day, in the Bahamas, we're talking a lot about crime today and the problems and the issues. And the way I look at it, it's like if you have a city of 250,000 people, if you have 2 doctors, a lot of people can die.
Wow.
If you train some more doctors, more people will live. So if you have 2 doctors, they can only see so many patients.
You're correct.
But if you train 100 doctors, a lot more people will live. If you train 200 doctors, a lot more people will live. So what I'm trying to do now, and I'm working with Carlos Reed and Eric Fox, and also we intend to engage persons like yourself also, because what we want to do is, all of us are getting older.
Yes, sir.
I don't really have time to go on the streets like I used to, but I have a lot of knowledge. So
That's very important.
What I want to do is share with the ones who are coming up, what are the strategies that work? How do you get involved? Because a lot of people want to get involved, but they're scared, because they don't understand. A lot of people are afraid because they don't realize who they're dealing with. So one of the things I explained when we had the presentation is that if, let's say you have somebody named Scarface, right?
Yes, sir.
The problem is we trying to reach Scarface, but you can't reach Scarface. But if Scarface's name is John Brown, you could reach John Brown. Because John Brown is a human being just like all of us.
I understand.
Everything, he has the same aspirations, goals, and all that kind of stuff. But Scarface is a street survival name. So when he's in the house and you turn on the news and the reporter says, well, this fella killed 5 people, and then you interview his mother, and his mother say, man, he was a good boy. And we laugh. But she don't know Scarface.
Yes.
She know John Brown.
You're correct. You're correct.
And so what we have to do is realize that you don't want to try to reach somebody in the arena where they got to survive. Because sometimes people feel like, okay, these guys are shooting one another, and it's called senseless violence. It ain't senseless violence, it's survival. Because you know how the game goes, way back in the day, I've been through some situations in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods, because, I used to hang out in Harlem, and I used to hang out Warren Street, different
That's the hot
areas.
spot.
And so I know how the game goes.
Yes, sir.
And back in those days, if somebody take your dope or somebody, disrespect you, then you have to send a message. If you don't send a message, then you lose your reputation. And, you can't even operate anymore because nobody respects you.
Everyone would come and be robbing you and slapping you around.
Right.
Owing you and never paying you.
Right.
Because they say, yes, sir.
So what you have to do is you have to send a message. Now, you send a message according to the tools of the day. Back in those days, you had your cutlass, your rock and bottle or whatever. And, way back then people had guns, but people used to operate guns differently.
Yes.
So you used to stash your gun in the bush.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't use your gun on a regular basis.
No.
Only when there's an operation or something.
Someone trying to come rob or...
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you got to go on a little mission,
Yeah.
you go dig up your gun out the bushes and then you go on your mission. So people have to realize that on the streets, these guys just surviving. The equipment standard went up. So it went from 22 to 38 to 45 to 44 to 357 to Glocks. And then now you got AK-47, AR-15, Mark 10. So if you pull out a 38 now, people will start laughing at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a little 6-shooter, pea-shooter.
Right.
Yeah.
So people have to realize that when they see guns on the streets, this is survival. This ain't, well, I doing this for a show. The other fella got a AK, and if you got a 38, your lunch going.
Yeah.
You know.
It's evident. It's evident.
So what we have to do is we can't pay attention to Scarface because it's hard to talk to Scarface because he's in survival mode.
Yes.
But when you get him out of that environment, you talk to him, you find ways of engaging him, then you can talk about life. And the reason I know it works is because I have names and faces. I have a lot of people who, you know, we look at Landlord, you look at Selector, you look at, so many other guys. You have fellas like Tiger and all of the rest of them.
You all have a very strong impact on their lives. Nelson and
Yeah,
et
Nelson.
cetera.
So a lot of these guys, what was interesting is, what I did, and this is what I try to teach people. I don't get into the persona. I don't get into the use of gangster and all that kind of stuff. I talk into John Brown. So fellas like Tiger and Dollar and all of these guys, I used to have at my house for dinner.
Yes.
For lunch. You sit down and talk.
They used to
and-
tell me.
Yeah,
They used to tell me.
And so we develop a relationship and we just talk life. I remember one time I was talking to Tiger. So Tiger had just gotten his hair cut. And I was standing on top of him on the stage. And then I was looking at his head, right? And then I saw look like a road here, whatever. So I said, what that is? He said, well, man, somebody chopped me with a bottle. So I said, what did it? Man, I get grazed with a cutlass. So I say, Tiger, let me ask you a question. I say, you have all these scars and you don't even own a car. What's your return on investment? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about life is that they say animals will risk their lives for food and survival. Humans will risk their lives for acceptance. So when an animal go out in the jungle, he's just trying to eat.
Yeah.
Humans, they can have food, and then they will risk their lives for something they don't need. As a youngster, my father actually owned 3 grocery stores. But I was in the ghetto, and I was hustling in the ghetto and, involved in all kinds of things. But it didn't make any sense because I didn't really need to be there. You know what I mean?
It didn't make no sense to me after all I learned. It didn't make no sense to me. I wish, like you stated, you get all these marks on you and you have Tiger, where's your car? I come to the same conclusion. What's to be a top gangster? And you achieve this, but at the end of the day, you don't have a car, you don't have a house, you don't have nothing.
Yeah.
All you get is police and people trying to kill you and friends switching on you. Who was your best friends? The devil switch on you. So I tell you, what do you think you look like you achieve? And this is the devil and more problems. And everywhere you go, it's just like problems. But everywhere you go, you just carry a stain with you.
Right.
That's what you get.
So what I try to do is I try to focus in on what you want out of life.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I go to prison and I speak in the prison,
Yes, sir.
and I ask them, I say, how many of you, this way you wanted to be in life? Raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. So if you have 1,000 people in some place and ain't nobody expected to be there, wanted to be there, then the question is, well, what you going to do about it? You know what I mean? You're going to end up back here in a place where you didn't intend to be and you don't want to be. So you have to do something with your life. You have to have a purpose.
A purpose.
You have to find out what your potential is, and you have to maximize your potential. And you have to decide what you want out of life. So that's what I try to do. I try to train people who want to reach guys from the streets to focus in not on the street persona, but focus in on the person and how we can help the person. Because the person wants to be helped.
But just don't know.
Yeah,
how-
they don't know, and then they caught up.
Yeah, they caught up.
You know, when you caught up in the game, first of all, it's hard to get out.
Very hard.
You know, because I remember some of my experiences, right? I can only talk for me. But I remember several times I said to myself, this is my last day on the blocks. And I go home and I be by myself for a week. And then I realize I don't have no friends, nobody to hang out with. Then I end up right back on the corner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, something calling you. You don't know what it is, but something's calling you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't just wake up one day and say, I have new friends. You know what I mean? So it's a process.
Yes, it's a process.
So people have to be taught how to switch.
Yes.
And one of the things that, I taught a lot with young people is purpose and mission in life. So you have a guy like Selector. Selector got out of the game and stayed out because he had a purpose. He had a mission. So his thing was developing a sound company. Landlord was developing a car wash company. Manifest developed a music production company. See, when man is designed to be productive, and if a man is not doing something productive or instructive,
He do
he can
something
do
else.
something destructive.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to find what can you do that is going to increase your value and is going to be instructive rather than destructive,
So when y'all met landlord, y'all took them in, and then y'all help them nurture their businesses and change their mindset. And as they start to be influenced with people who are going somewhere, not, hey, let's go thief, not let's go do this. No, let's do this. Let's set up your business plan because you don't want to be on the street like the old guy. I have an uncle, Mr. Burroughs. His name is Prince Brennan, and he normally runs City Market and Market Street area around Beauty Bakery, and he's been like that from I was a little boy. And then I would always say to the young guys, I say, do you all want to end up like that? I say, do you want to be on this road, waste your time, be a bad boy or no education, or just hang around and let your life go and then end up like that? I say, that's how you want to be? And you know something? You said something so powerful. You said that when you go to prison and you talk to inmates and you ask them, who all want to be here? You say, not one person want to put up their hands. So we have to be able to have guidance in these communities, father figures, woman figures who has the training, like how you're training people to be able to deal with the young men and young females out there and set them in the right direction so that when they go in these particular communities, they know how to nurture them, I don't name Scaver, that's Mr. Smith. And you talk to him like Mr. Smith, you isolate that name from him, and because like you said, his mom said that she loved but she don't know the next name. So what you saying that in her house she loves her son, right? And she don't know basically all the stuff that he is doing out there. But when he is in his house, he's a good boy. But the street is a whole different picture, and that's a reflection of what I said when in my home, my household, my grandmother teach me the basics. But when I came outside, I was a different person.
Right.
Yes.
She knew you as your original
Yes.
name, and when you called on the street, you were Scrooge.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. You're correct.
And everybody on the street, they don't know you as your name.
No.
They know you as Scrooge.
You know, in Scoochie.
And so whatever Scrooge did last week or whatever reputation he presented, he got to keep up that reputation.
Yeah, you have to.
Because if you don't keep it up, then you lose respect.
Yeah, because everyone can test you.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
test, and you had to always be. That's what got us so hardened because
Yeah.
of the test.
Right,
We got
right.
hardened because of the test. You're
Right.
getting tested from just about everyone.
Yeah, and so another thing that I learned that's very important is that you can't expect people to come to you. There are two things we have to do in terms of reaching the streets. You have to go to where you could engage them, or you have to find a captive audience. So let me give you two examples. All gangsters come from school. So if you want to reach people, first you got to get into schools. if you can't get into schools, in order to reach a gangster, you need a captive program. So let's say a court program where they are, they're on probation and they sentence and they have to attend a seminar. So we have to provide opportunities for the courts and for, different agencies for a place where these guys could hear some sense, because if the court don't order them to in a program, they ain't gonna ever listen.
Yeah.
So I remember there was a program that we were doing in Freeport. It was called the Real Men Program, Freeport, and we were working with the judge in Freeport. So the guys had a choice. They could go to Nassau and go to Fox Hill, or they could show up every Saturday morning at 5:30 and listen to Sense.
Wow.
All of them chose to show up at 5:30. Why? Because they had no choice.
Yes, because
Another example is I remember when I came back home from college and I saw a lot of gang activity in Nassau. I went to the guidance counselor of the school. It was H.O. Nash at the time. I went to the school. I talked to the principal and the guidance counselor, and I said, "Okay, give me all the gang members. Give me all of them." And so I had a class full of gang members that I met with every week.
wow.
And what I did was I talked to them, and then I brought in guys, who was from the streets, because these were young guys, and they were, looking at drug dealers and looking at all of these people, and they thinking, boy, this is what
It's
I want to be.
normal today.
But I was bringing guys in to talk to them who had been on the streets, and so I was talking to them on every week. I used to take them by church. I'd take them on different outings and expose them to different things.
And they can believe it.
Right, and so I develop a relationship. And
That's
see,
important.
relationship is important. If somebody sit down at your house for dinner, they know you in a different way.
Yes, sir.
If you just see somebody and you say, "Boy, this
Call
fella,
the company right now.
this fella behaving badly and all that kind of stuff, and we need to deal with him," it's hard to develop a relationship. But if you sit down, that's what Jesus did.
Highways and byways.
You remember when Jesus went to Zacchaeus' house?
Yeah, he went on highways and byways because he understood what the same way you were saying. We have to be able to go to those people's houses and sit down and see what they're going through and have a chat with them and be able to assist them best way possible. Then we'd find the problems in these homes because the parents would be able to open up now that we're having a meal on a Sunday.
You develop relationships,
Yes.
and then when you develop relationships, it's easier to talk to people.
Yes.
So when I look at guys like Landlord and Selector and other people like that, Double Six, who's actually the pastor of our church
Sorry.
in Orlando and Freeport now.
Yes, sir.
All these guys come off the streets, but what happened? I built a relationship with them. Landlord and Double Six, they traveled with me when I was doing an event at Madison Square Garden. They traveled with me, when I went to Texas, different places, and they got exposed to a different world.
And that changed their world.
Right. And you see, and Landlord is a
professional
international artist
Yes.
now. Yeah.
Amazing. You want to take this call?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on Inside the Inner City on this wonderful Friday. Good night.
Something I never could remember your name,
You mean my name?
Yeah.
Valentino Brand.
And that's what.
What is this?
Like you always saying,
Yes, sir.
I only know you're a Scoochie.
Yeah.
And like Pastor Burroughs, I only did know him one time as Roughneck.
Roughneck Pastor.
Yeah, Roughneck Pastor. But I say all that to say this. What he was saying is so real. Because where I live in, Scoochie don't even know my name. We grew up together.
This
You
Nelson.
know who this is, right?
Nelson?
No.
Tell me, I
You know who
can't.
you talking to?
I can't. Who it is?
Okay, I can use the name, Skilla.
Skillaboo. Here's the Skillaboo.
Everything good. Hey, but like Pastor Burroughs was saying, right? He's so right about it. Even some of my family right now, they don't really know my name as Vincent Rodriguez Wallace. All they know me as Skillaboo, or Skilla, or Skillin. I had about 100 names, Pastor Burroughs, back in the day.
Yeah.
Right? But what you're saying, Pastor, is so real. Because right now, everybody know me as Brother Wallace for the last 30-something years. Brother Wallace.
Yeah.
When he said that people know me as Skillable, it's people who I used to hang with back in back in the days, like around in the back in the late
80s and 90s.
90s, right. After 96, the Lord gave me a different name. One time ago, even past, I didn't even like tell people what my name was.
Wow.
Like I come out and just say Vincent Wallace. Just
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never used to like tell people that. I tell people, man, I skill a man. Or whatever that name is they give me, yeah, that's who I am.
Right.
But right now, I can't tell people that you can't call me Skiller. But everybody know me as Brother Wallace right now.
That's good.
For what the Lord have been doing in me and with me and through me. And Pastor, by you talking about the school fellas them. I've been by program show for 13 years. That's what the Holy Spirit sent me, 13 years. And trust me, gangsters, giddy fellas, all them things, the Lord used me. Ooh, if it was 100 of them, I had but 85 walking the right path.
Wow, that's
And right, and Pastor, I visually impaired. I ain't scared. Nothing. I be on the streets, on the park, any place, preaching. Fellas, them shooting dice, gambling, whatever they doing. I letting them know there's a word for you all too.
right.
And that's what we need in the body of Christ.
And see, we need people like yourself because when
I can share something with you, right, Pastor?
yeah.
I do motivating speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I speak at the Bahamas College, I speak at schools, all places. And the schools, they want me to come there. But, like I tell them, transportation is a little tight with me because of my vision, right?
Right.
And then me and Carlos booked a couple events, and he wanted me to work with him. But he ain't touched me yet, and I done touch him but twice or three times, and he ain't touched me yet. And when I hear what you say you doing, I mean, we could have a sit-down meeting first, because I could share like a whole lifestyle with you, my whole lifestyle with you,
Right.
and you will see it ain't got nothing to do with me, but everything to do with what God was doing.
Yeah. So what I need you to do is send me your number. You could send it to Valentino, and
the
then
producer.
and then I'll get it. And then because what I want to do is, see, I'm not trying to do the work. I just trying to get people together who been in the field and try to strategize, get everybody together. So we could go into schools, you could go into different areas, and you have a lot more people working than just a few people.
Yes.
And the more you have working, the more success you
Like-
have. So
Like violence interrupters. There's more like trained violence interrupters.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, man, Skillaboo. So you could leave your name and your number on the producer to get it. Thanks a lot, man. And Skillaboo is actually, he's done fantastic over the years, changed his life around, and he's in the ministry now doing his best, the best he can to help the less fortunate in the country. Okay. Yeah, so Mr. Boss, you were stating?
Yeah, so the thing is, what I did with the guys in H.R. Nash. See, I understand that not everybody can do it, okay? Because I wasn't afraid, and most people are afraid, but they're afraid because they don't understand. They are thinking about the street persona, and they, even with young guys, they thinking, boy, I can't talk to these guys. These guys,
They can be
bad and all
talked
that.
to.
But you have to know who you are, and you have to know what your calling is. And even if you can't go, you could support the people who go. You know what I mean? So let's say you can't go on the streets and you can't reach people. Well, what you could do is you could find out how you could support. I had people who went with me on different runs that I did on the streets. And when they started out, they were totally uncomfortable. I remember we went in the Yellow Elder Park, and we did, that was way back in like 92, 93. And we did outreach there. And some of the people who I had with me, they had never been on the streets before, And all I did was I went in the area. I knew one or two people, but I didn't know a lot of people. I went in the area and I asked, okay, where the gangsters hang out? And they say on the basketball court. So I go on the basketball court And I talked to the guys. I say, hey, we want to bring some music around here. We got some gospel, hip hop, and reggae. We want to bring it on the park. And I communicated with them, and then I said, can I bring a team? We play basketball with y'all. So we went and played basketball with them. And so when it was time for me to present a message to them, everybody was open.
It was easy.
And then a weird thing happened to this, the funniest thing what happened. So I'm talking to the guys on the basketball court, right? And this guy walked across the court, who I knew from back in the day. And then he walked up to me, he said, man, what you saying, Davey B? So I said, man, everything cool. So when he walked away, the guy said, you know him? I said, yeah, man. I said, that's my boy. That's, we used to hang out together. He said, man, that's the most violent nigga in this area.
That's how it goes.
And so it gave me a lot more respect.
Yeah.
And so, they listened to me. And then the people who were with me, they got a glimpse of how to operate in that environment. So when they needed to go, it was easier the next time. And so that's what we have to do. We have to train people. It's just like, any other profession. If you're going to learn how to be a doctor, what they do is you go to school, and then they put you on a surgery, and then you learn, and then after a while, then you could operate on your own.
Wow.
So that's what we have to do. We have to train people as street doctors.
Yes. Wow. That's nice. I wonder if you want to comment on something. The police commissioner, Clayton Fernando, he's doing a fantastic job as far as using the ankle monitor. I'd like to say the guys out there in parks, twos and trees, that if you're traveling in the park with twos and trees and with an ankle bracelet, the police will be after you. The police now are strategizing on not allowing one or two persons in an ankle bracelet to be together in no spots, in restaurants and bars. They didn't allow them to go to Junction. So they're doing this to try and break the trend of guys who charge with serious offenses for their safety and for the general public safety, because when they go in certain environment, they go in the bar and guys looking for them. Normally, sometimes they get away and innocent people get killed. Innocent people who either get injured, attempted murdered, or sometimes murdered, are not the intended target. It's because they come for that specific person who's wearing an ankle bracelet. They decide now that they want you to wear an ankle bracelet. You should not be allowed to roam around like a normal citizen who is not out on bail and who is a prolific offender, hurt someone's family. And the commissioner made a statement. He made a statement saying that most persons charged with murder last year are now out on bail. And that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That's a formula for disaster.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was always saying this because I understood these things from a long time, and I've been saying it for a long time. The reason why I believe Mr. Burrows, Pastor Burrows, I do my own statistics now. I've been seeing guys, come and go. And here's what I get to understand. If we are averaging over 100 murders per year, there's no way possible, based on the jurisdiction of the courts, when they gave us statistics, when they say they only could try about, 9 to 15 murder cases per year, right? 9 to 15.
Right.
And if we have 100 murders per year, there's nowhere in the world we're going to be able to keep people who are charged with murder, because when you get charged with murder this year, the jail is ready for the person charged with murder last year.
Right.
So the court has no choice but to give you bail, because there's no way the court could hold 300-400 people charged with murder in a 3-year period. So they have to get bail. So this is set for disaster in the country. So that's why your programs and what you're talking about and violence interrupt is so important. That's a serious thing.
Yeah. I before I head out, let me just say, I think, we're behind the 8 ball.
Behind the 8 ball.
On a lot of things. The first thing that we need to do right now, and I understand they're working on it, is you need a new prison. Mm-hmm. And you need more facilities to house the people. If somebody is harming society, you can't let them back out. You know what I mean? I mean, if somebody is on trial for murder, you can't let them on the streets, because we know that either they will kill again or they'll be killed.
That's right.
So we need to have more facilities. And if we don't want the problem to continue, then we have to do something different. If we keep doing what we're doing now, then the same thing keeps
happening. This is taking over and over and over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
But
sorry, I got to run.
No problem. You did
But-
you did wonders on the show for the first segment of the show. So feel free that we'd set up a next appointment so we can continue this conversation. Definitely, we want you on because your message has to be spread. You're talking about training the next generation to be violence interrupters to deal with this many vexing problem in our country. And you, as a professional, you're an analyst, and you have the most experience. And you stated from the beginning of the show to when you're leaving now. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to come on this wonderful Friday to share with the general public some of your program that you are assisting the Bahamian people with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, sir.
My book too.
Okay.
The book that we're doing.
Yes, sir.
Reaching the streets.
Okay, reaching the streets. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Burrows. Bahamas Faith Ministries lead pastor, Pastor Dave Burrows.
Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Don't take no back talk, no bribe or no joke. If you find fire, you definitely find smoke. Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Bintan, I say
Always
you're
on the go?
running.
Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Loss of family members is very isolating, and people who have experienced loss appreciate when others have shared their grief. If you can't be there in person, go to the Nassau Guardian's website online at thenassauguardian.com and visit our obituary link. The Nassau Guardian's interactive obituary link allows you to read the funeral announcement, express condolences, or place photos on the online guest book for 1 full year. Losing a loved one is painful, but that pain isn't the worst thing to happen. Friends, loved ones, colleagues, and neighbors who ignore the loss compound the pain. Should the bereaved family wish to place the obituary and photos on our obituary site, just contact the Guardian's Funeral Industry Partners or the Nassau Guardian. Remember, there isn't one magic right thing to say to someone experiencing loss that will make the loss less painful or easier to bear. The Nassau Guardian's obituary link, available online at thenassauguardian.com.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan.
We're back on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I'm your host, Valentino Brown. We had Dave Burrows, lead pastor, Bahamas Faith Ministries in studios. He is a member of the advisory committee at the Ministry of National Security. Dr. David Allen chairs that, along with Kiva Bedell and many others. We have Cleopatra Christie, Dave Burrows. We also have his name, a few other people. I can't really got his name right here, who are part of the advisory committee, and they are assessing ways on how they can present to the board to take to the Minister of National Security so they could pass legislation in order to curb the crime problem. And we're all working together as a team, getting input from everyone around the table. We have Terry Delancey, also a part of it. And we're working together to find solutions presented to the board, and the board takes it to the minister, and the minister takes it to cabinet and pass legislation. And we're working on things like prison reform, second chance, re-entry, parole, and training programs and new prison, and etc. And before Mr. Burrows left, I made a suggestion on, at least a comment, that the Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernando, I was making a reference to people out on bail. And he stated that most people who were charged with murder the previous year are now out on bail. And you can imagine the effect of having someone who hurt someone in this country right back on the streets when there are people who lost their loved one, are hurting, and then to see these people roaming around the streets, it causes one, to think, and start to question, the system and if it's true justice. And this causes many, to think evil towards persons. And that's why we have so much retaliation, killing going on in our country in this 21/7. And that shows you that we still have not understand what the root cause and where to start. Mr. Boris was in studios. It starts from the community. It starts with us neglecting the poor and needy, and we let it deteriorate over the years after we had the drug epidemic. We had the Alcohol Anonymous problem that destroyed the family structure. Before, the crack cocaine and marijuana hit Nassau, New Providence. Then when the cocaine and marijuana hit after Alcohol Anonymous, that's its second devastation. It destroyed the family structure. So once the family structure is destroyed, poverty came in. Because everyone now is into partying and not being concerned about education, better themselves, thinking about their future. They started just partying. Everyone started to drink their life away. Who had crack cocaine started to have sexual intercourse, and a lot of AIDS and sickness was spread. A lot of criminals was created, drug babies, myself included, along with thousands across the country where our parents, didn't give a crap about how our lifestyle was. I can understand my father, he ended up getting convicted for murder and then spending a life sentence, and then he was released about 15, 20 years ago. So I can understand that him not being there for me, but it was like chaos for thousands and thousands of people living in the country, youngsters, who are actually 49, 48, 47, 46 and go back. We're celebrating 50 years of independence, so that 49 years of age that I am, and 48, 47, 46 and go straight down, all of us were victims. Not saying using that as an excuse, but it is what it is. The drug epidemic was there, the alcohol epidemic was there, the family structure was there, then poverty came in. And since poverty came in, and we were just dealing with do the crime, spend the time. We put law enforcement in place to deal with the criminal activity. When we put you before the court was strict. We had no rehabilitation plans in place. We made things even 10 times rougher when we put these people before the court. Many people were having psychology problems. Many were had mental health, but they were never diagnosed with mental health. So what we doing during? Now all this is going on in the community when there's no employment, there's crack cocaine in the area, there's hell breaking loose in the inner city community, right? All this is happening. And our solution to it is put the police there and for the police to enforce the law. And in doing so, we incarcerated many young persons who I feel could have been rehabilitated if we had the proper procedure. In doing so, we destroyed a whole 7, 8 generation, which have no headway. Now we reach this dilemma where we are up to 100 plus murders, where we can have people who charged with serious offenses walking around the streets, and they're danger to each and every one of us. It's crazy. And like I said, when the commissioner made that statement, and he said that most people charged with murder last year are basically out on bail, and people can't answer that, but I can answer it. It's simple. Fox Hill Prison or the Bahamas Correctional Center cannot deal with 100 plus murders per year, every year. There's no way Fox Hill Prison, the judiciary system, can hold all those persons charged with murder dating back to 6, 7 years, and there's a reason why they can't. Let me just read some stuff, show you. And then the next 30 minutes I have our talk about the solution. Okay? Okay. Factors beyond court controlling slow progress. As part of the Ministry of National Security Advisory Committee, we get information from Dr. David Allen and his secretary, Kiva Battle, and we get the latest information. And we are linked to Chief Justices, outgoing one and the new one. We are linked to a lot of people in the judicial system and the prison system. And people are part of the government and the Ministry of National Security, and we are collaborating together. So we share information, and we be frank. So here, how it goes. While noting that the judiciary is doing our very best to address the court backlog. When they say backlog, that means cases going back 3-4 years, murder cases that have yet to come up. And they can't try them because they don't have the time based on this information. Chief Justice Brian Maury said, many murder cases take long to go to trial because of month-long wait time for pathological reports and prosecutorial shortage. I think it's important to understand that criminal justice system involves a number of stakeholders who each have a role to play in the context of criminal cases, said Mr. Bryan. When reached for comment, if we are going to reduce the time period it would take to dispose of a case, it is going to be necessary for all the stakeholders to be involved in the solution. Without the context of murder, one of the problems that the courts have been having was getting psychologist reports within a reasonable time. It takes anywhere from 18 to 24 months to get a report from the psychologist. Obviously, in the context of a murder case, unless the lawyer agrees that they don't require a psychologist report, that is necessary part of the evidence in order to proceed. There's also an issue with obtaining forensic evidence, especially in cases involving firearm. He said, while there's a local lab that conducts testing, it usually takes 12 to 18 months to get the results. Another issue, especially relates to murder cases and all criminal cases, is the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, the DPP. This is the main agency in the Bahamas. He said, in order to process and progress these criminals' cases, it always involved the prosecution on one side and the defense lawyer on the other side. There have been serious shortage in staff in the office of the DPP. I think that the Attorney General and the acting DPP have been addressing this issue. They're asking for help. But again, the pace at which a case can be dealt with, what is somewhat related to the resources of the prosecution agency, they are out of the control of the courts. These are out of the control of the court. Unless judges start dismissing cases or giving directive verdicts to dispose of these cases, the issue in the DPP office have to be addressed in order to make sure the prosecutors are ready and prepared to hear cases. The Chief Justice said all of these issues need to be considered to reduce the timeline for trials. He said he has spoken with the Attorney General and the issue are being looked into. Prime Minister Brave Davis said the court needs to step up regarding hearing murder cases. Davis said the courts have to pay more attention to people who are going to be out on bail. The court have to take control, I think, of their trials so that people could have trials, he said. I mean, the backlogging of cases is just astronomical, and it's almost nearing the brink of collapse. So the courts have to step up, and they need to hear these cases. So Brian noted that he wants murder cases to be tried more quickly. But to do that, the underlying issues would have to be addressed first, he said, and that's all the stuff we talked about. It is important for the public to understand what these factors are. So Brian said, it is important for the public to understand that we in the judiciary are very aware of our duties and our responsibility, and we're working very hard to address these backlogs within the context of our current resources. So, hearing that, it shows you we are in serious trouble, and there's no way, based on us having 9 murders this year. So if we keep this up with this 9 murders, and we end up to 100, and we had 128 last year, I think, and a lot of people, probably about 30 or 40 people get charged last year. So we have still outstanding murder cases being investigated. So when these police go, then they do the investigation, they charge people for the previous offenses for that particular year, right? For 222. Okay, now it's 223. So they're going to charge them in 223. Now we have 9 murders this year, and if we go to, let's say, like, oh God, spare a lot of lives out there. No, because you never know who's next. But it seems to be, something seriously going on. But in that 1 year, if we end up to 100 murders again, not even attempted murders, not even armed robberies, not even the previous cases, there's no system, no judicial system can be able to manage that. No. It's because we're producing too much criminals. The prison can't hold them. So when them said get charged in 2022 for murder charge, serious murder charge, 6-7 months they're going to be out on bail because while they're incarcerated, another 60-70 murders happen in that 7 months period. So that case, what was fresh 6-7 months ago, ain't fresh no more because we have about 70 murders take place after that. So that person who was in prison, he's gonna be allowed bail because his case isn't tried in a timely fashion, right? And then they're gonna give him bail, and then he's gonna go on the streets. He's gonna try hurt somebody or someone, family member who he hurt is gonna get him because when they see him walking through the street or in the nightclub, and like I say, everyone of brothers, everyone of cousins, everyone of mothers, everyone of sisters. And not everyone is bad. But when something happens to them, some people go buy a gun. The gun is because they've been hurt and they don't have no alternative. And they buy this gun, they vision this poison. And they're waiting for this poison to come out in the streets because they're a fan for their life. And when they see this poison, they say, you know what? It's either him or me and take my brother or sister. Even though we're all brothers and sisters. And we've been poisoned, with a lot of hate, a lot of vengeance. And we need to put preventative measures in place. Else we're going to lose the battle. Based on the statistics, listen to the Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernando, stating he's frustrated that the police go after individuals. They put them before the courts, but in 6 months, 7 months, they out on bail. It's not the fault of the judicial system. It's not the fault of the police. It's the fault that we have too much people charged with too much serious offenses. Okay? The police can't deal with it. The police takes the poison, charge them. They put them in a holding cell. They put them before the courts. The courts persecute them, put them on remand, send them to prison. Okay? But why stay in prison? The prison only can hold certain amount of inmates. Okay? The prison can't hold 500 people charged with murder. Cannot. Or hold 100 people charged with murder. Cannot. Not even 100 I think they could hold in the prison. They can't even charge one. I don't think the prison can hold 100 person in this country, 100 individuals who are charged with murder in the prison because they just don't have no space because we have so much people getting charged with so much different offenses and petty offenses. Marijuana possession. These cases, stealing of the store. These are waste of the prosecution time. That's why the court's saying that we need to get rid of small matters and let the judge be able to make their own decision and get rid of matters. Because these small cases sometimes take 2 to 3 years. You understand? And it takes the time of the judge dealing with more serious matters. You understand? That's why we're in the position we're in now. You see? So when they get bail, they come on the streets. They have their connection, and it causes a lot of problem for us. All right? So that's what we face in the country. And that's dangerous. You know, when the commissioner be saying that most persons who were charged with last year murders are out on bail. You know, someone to kill your brother, your sister, your mother, and then they walk around the streets. They get a bad intention or good intention. Some might feel sorry for what they did, but I hear anybody, and you take my mother, you take my brother. So when you pass me on the street, I could be in a good mood. I could be, you ain't even on my mind. But then when you look through the bush, or someone come, look who walking, boy. Boy, the nigga just killed my brother. Boy, go get the thing, boy. That time these persons just chilling on minding their own business. But when they see that person, they get a rate mad. You know? Go get the gun, boy. Boy, I don't care what this nigga is. Let's go get him. Right on the road. That's the end of that person. Or he have a gun, they have a big shootout. You know, because some of these guys they're like in Afghanistan, you know. Some of these guys are prone hardcore. So I just want to mention something. The rally in the alley, let me get it. Will be held to Woods Alley. Spearheaded by Bishop Ferguson, Big Harvest Community Center. Mr. Ferguson, Bishop Ferguson, he lost a good young man who he was grooming for many years, and that's one of the persons killed last week, Mr. Berry, Brooke Berry. I knew Brooke from a little boy in the community, and we have grown him in some type of way. You know, I listened to his mom, and she gave a wonderful speech. You know, she's talked about her son, you know, in his younger days. You know, he was a hard boy. And yes, he was a hard boy, you know. And growing up in these communities, you know, it's very difficult if the right opportunities are not there. And many will fall through the cracks, and many want to do better. And you know, he's a hard boy, you know, he's one of my close friends, but we understand the streets, and when you're having problems with guys who are like yourself, it is a very, very dangerous game. It's either you or them. And, you know, it hurt me, you know, because, you know, he was never disrespectful to me, you know, as a young man. You know, I could always talk to him if he was involved with someone going to do something. I could always, you know, unbrook man, give him a break, or, you know, don't do him like that, you know. He always would listen, you know. Never disrespectful. You know, he used to 7 person killed. He got ambushed across from the court. And you see how creative the young guys is? See, when you're a threat to individuals, they come at you at all angles. And you see how smart those young men was? They strategized on how to get him. They blocked the road off of that car, front and back, and they let him off it because they knew what type of young man he was. He was doing good for himself, but they knew his reputation, and sometimes that precedes you, you know, and they target him, but look at the creativity of the young man. They have time to do that. To sit down and ambush, you know. It's crazy. You know, but one day it will be them also. You know, what goes around comes around. So I'm advising young guys out there, if you have someone you're beefing with, and you all two are in the same boat, you know, you shoot at one another. You know, try to see if you could reach that person, you know. It ain't nothing wrong with trying to apologize. You know, a little apology could save your life, you know. A guy with respect, if, you know, just pull up on him, you know, and see if you could talk to him, you know, one-on-one, your enemy, and see if you could talk to him and see if you could come to some type of agreement. Sometimes these things could save your life and not saying nothing at all, you know. You know? Yeah, he was a good friend to me, and Pastor Bishop Ferguson is actually having the 29th rally in the alley at Woods Alley, and Brooke was one of his students. And like I said, no one's perfect. He had his, ups and downs, just like many of the young men we're facing today. And he would be greatly missed, especially with Bishop Ferguson, because they were tight, They were tight. But listen to the last name, Berry. When you hear Berry, he had a sister. You would have heard Nate talk about his niece, his sister, who were killed in a double murder along with her daughter. You would hear the name Berry. Brock is the brother of Anjani Berry and her daughter. So that's like 3 people, brother and sister and niece, gone in the space of about 10 years. So we all know what is happening, but it just, some things are just, you can't control, Some wise and guys out there who have a little beef with one another, see if you could try reasoning it out, It ain't too big to just get a number and try to talk to someone who you have in a beef and see if you could squash it, because it could save your life, his family member life, and everyone else's life, It's crazy out here. It's crazy out here. And the big office community gonna miss him, And he was the 7th murder victim, and his mom, she talked, and I respect her for what she said. She didn't hide nothing. She was calm with it, because these moms nowadays, they're built up because they know, listen to the news that any day having a son who is involved in violent offenses, they know now that it's very dangerous, because you also could pull the trigger, but you also get the trigger put on you, and these mothers are tough. I also like to say to the Defense Force, who lost his life, condolences to his family. His mom, she was so calm on the news, and she talked about her son. She talked about hearing him scream. She talked about, how he was. And when the interviewer asked her a question about what would she say to the person who took her poison who took her son's life, and she said, she said quite calmly that she hoped that God forgive them and that they forgive themselves. So calmly, she had no hate. She wasn't looking for no justice. She understood where justice is coming from. Her justice is coming from the Father. She wasn't looking for no God. Yeah, she's looking for the God, but she just a person. You could see that she was of good spirit, and she accepted, and the way she answered. And she talked about the good of her son. She talked about the person who killed her son, person who killed her son. And she said that, she forgave them. And that was powerful from both of those moms. We also had a little baby, was found unresponsive. The autopsy hasn't revealed exactly what the cause of death is, but the baby have some bruises on it. Baby, just a baby. Man, our country is crazy. What is going on? What is going on? It's like every day it's just something tragic. So we have to really put preventative measures in place. I just want to say to those who are listening, I feel deeply in my heart that all of this comes down to education, economy, and crime. Let me read it. And like I said, I feel that we have all the answers to a lot of the problems we face in the country. We have the problems to immigration. We have the problem to we know the problem to immigration. We just have to make sure that we keep the immigration pressure up. We have to deploy defense force officers and et cetera to these particular families. They will stay on duty and set up. We need immigration officers to be routinely walking to the neighborhood on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, on the family islands, and asking the problems we want to deal with these problems. Some of the suggestions that the Coalition of Independence made, but many people made the same suggestions of stopping work permits and et cetera, because we have an influx, so we need to stop the work permits and make sense, you know. We need to man borders, because all of this is causing strain on us and having a lot of unwanted kids in the country who themselves and cannot get the opportunity required. They're stagnated. They become criminals at a very young age and cause strain on us because, you know, they want a better life and they're here and they make many of us victims. I'm talking all over the board. You know, this is Bahamian, Haitian nationals, and stagnated coming here. You know, so it is deep. So I just want to outline the Davis administration outline agenda when it comes to where they want to start from. See, you got to start from somewhere. You got to start from a preventative measure. And one of those preventative measures that the government of the Bahamas is doing is economy, education, and crime. They're going to be doing this, making this priority for 12 months and focus on these particular programs, which I think is most important. We have to focus on crime. We have to focus on the economy and education. We're going to take this call before we get into the Davis Outlines agenda for 2023. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside the Inner City.
Yeah, good night, Squishy.
Good night, good night.
Yeah, you know, you're always touching me with these conversations about the inner city, right? You know, it's good to see that the PM has an agenda, but knowing that on a global scale, we hearing about Agenda 2020 and Agenda 2030, right?
Yes, sir.
So what that means is that the globalists are thinking 10 years ahead.
Yes.
But the third world is so pathetic. We thinking year for year, but the ghetto youths thinking day by day. You know, during the pandemic, the ghetto youths had to be worrying about catching a shot, right? Trying to survive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same things you say, most of them too proud to go and try to reconcile differences. And me and you know, Michael Douglas is out to all who went through these. You know, I heard the human story with the Defense Force old lady, and it's quite frightening, you know, Squishy.
Yeah, she said it so calmly. Like,
yeah.
Man, she's awesome, that.
The thing is, and then the McCoy fella, you know, his mom, you know, the thing is you could transition your life, but once we don't get into the youths, their minds at an early age and show them the repercussions and having discussions, right, we will realize, listen to me, when they realize that something they did at age 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 will affect them for the rest of their lives, right? So you remember Eagles, right? Who used to be Buzzard them?
Yeah, I remember the name.
Yeah, Buzzard was my cousin. And so what happened is, you remember how they catch eagles by the gas station, right?
Yeah, I remember.
He had a baby in his arm, and you remember what happened, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So the fellas say, see, when you don't do so much ruthlessness, what happens is, this is just the way it is. So they have to realize, you understand what I'm saying, Squishy?
I understand. I got shot up.
Yeah,
I got shot at.
Me and you, but, you know,
Yeah.
Squishy, I was shot at, you know. Something
so-
I just don't like to say on the radio.
Yes.
Sometimes God is be with you. I see one time on a Sunday morning, the fella gun jam trying to shoot me up in Regency Park. So, I mean, it's a lot of stories I don't talk about, but I'm glad that I lived this long, right?
Yes.
So for me and you to be in the inner city right now, here's what's on the ground. I mean, maybe half an hour, your show, you could just really try to bring some human stories to the forefront because, you know, you got the hookup, right?
Yes, I will.
But I was cycling, that got me off, Squishy.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but I was cycling to the health shop this morning, right? To Masana them on Balfour, right? And as I turned through the back road, you know where the native yard used to be, right?
Yeah, I know the native yards for you down by the hard
That would be Clinton Alley.
Yeah.
Clinton Alley, south.
Yeah, because the furniture place right there.
Yeah, so it was the back road. Yeah, it was a bunch of young guys. As I turned through, I saw about first I saw about two of them running, and then I saw another 5 or 6 came through the corner, subsequently running. One other piece of wood in his arm, but you could see they was in like some type of confrontation with someone or whatever scenario there was, and I wasn't even caring to find out. But you can see they're young. The milk's still around their mouth. They don't really know what's going on. They experiment with their lives. And, the thing is, we deny that most of these people are Asian Bahamians, We really denying that, Scoochie. The inner city, you see, for us to deny...
Let me say this. Let me put it this to you. From my perspective, living in the inner city community for the last 40 plus years, we are overrun. We are overrun. We have a lot of Asian Bahamians.
And they're being absorbed.
They're being absorbed in our society.
Yeah, but, we connect with one another.
Yeah, we good.
Me and everybody. See, I don't have a problem with these people.
It's just a new set coming in. It's a new set coming in, man.
Yeah. But Scoochie, you don't see them and you don't know them, and you can always tell them. You can always tell them.
The new set is the biggest problem.
Yeah, some of them
we're talking about.
But see, the thing is, the government don't realize that they facilitating, because when you call these places, they're offering Creole thing, but the people should be able to speak English. So I don't know why they're facilitating. They facilitate in many ways, even as the caller suggested, with the flights coming in from Haiti, and how much people returning from the incoming flights. Like, who was checking to see how many of them returning? No data or nothing. It's just a state of nothingness. And so somebody sent a text to Howard, and I appreciated the text because she said, "What are we really celebrating?" But Scoochie, if we're not hearing with the human stories inside the inner city, we're not going to get anywhere. But the ghetto youths have to realize that there are repercussions for the things they're doing. And I hate to get into the psyche and mention some of the things that I'm seeing, right, on the radio. You understand me, Scoochie? But it's deteriorating at a rapid pace, and I hope the young ladies wouldn't get into it. But what happens also is that they're not getting any, some police officers are very humane, I met one the other day, and he said he knew me from just walking my daughter to school every morning. This is a close distance, right? And he looked at me and said, "You're a good father." This is what he told me. He said, "Every morning I see you walking my daughter to school, and, sometimes I have my little nuts and my little grapes and my little strawberries in my hand trying to feed her these things, so make sure she eats some of them. She have them in a bag, but I don't make sure she get into this good eating habit, et cetera, et cetera." And I have a little son, but, it's going to be frightening for anyone who have a son. It's the biggest challenge trying to get them up and running in the city, because when they look at it, Scoochie, we could talk about Jamaica all they want, but one of the things they can remember was the Catholic school over there. They had a music program for the inner city youth, so this is why they could play the music so good. It was a Catholic nun over there, and she had facilitated a music school with sponsors, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these singers came from this particular paradigm. But we're missing out on a lot of things, Scoochie. There's so much things to be done. I don't know what's going on, but like I say, I just call them for the enthusiasts, but I don't know what's going on, Scoochie. But me and you see, like you say,
hell gate open. That's what's going on.
Yeah, but Scoochie, I thought that the youth would have seen what has happened. Like, it was a girl saying, I was in the store the other day and just buying a product in Kelly's and the tool shop, and there's a lady, she was talking to a Jamaican guy, and she just made a little joke because the guy wanted to buy some kind of nail gun. So she said she knows some shooters, and I said, "Man," and she was just talking on a friendly level, but she was just kind of like jokingly. I said, "But maybe you should encourage the guys that don't be no shooters."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I say the shooter will get shoot one day.
Yes, that's how it go.
So maybe we need to play the song. You know the song, "I and I Don't Want to Be No Shutter"?
Yes.
Rasta used to praise of Jaja.
Yeah.
Nah, put no shot in your brother.
Yes.
So, and Mikey General, mind up some of your friend them.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to play these songs every day, these conscious songs that people think some all reggae songs are trying to portray a positive message. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what we could do, Scoochie, but the police ain't helping the situation, because I've seen instances in which the government still allow these people to enter people's homes and carry search warrants without cameras. There are reports coming in from a gentleman who lived just north of me. They find some weed, right? Not in the yard where he lived, but not in the yard where a yard must be adjacent to his yard, but not in his yard. But I'm not vouching for anybody. But what came to surface is there are disturbing reports of the police pulling gun on the young ladies, and well, they said they beat him also. But the thing is, they confiscated some funds, and then when his mother went to the court to talk about it, it wasn't mentioned. So I thought it would be for them to just, we in Mano, we have respect for them, but something needs to be changed. The police, it shouldn't, when you come with a search warrant, you should, see, choose the people poor, right? All of us poor, because I hear people start with who broke and who ain't broke. When all of us broke, from you really don't have the millions or whatever.
Yeah.
But the snobbery exists that if you doing better than someone, we we have to push you down by calling other people broke. So what we see now is the police are willing, most of them, because, we have some humane officers, schools. You mean, we didn't meet some of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But some of them are willing to finish further, dehumanize the people. So what I'm saying is because the people are poor, this is what they do. So
Yeah.
you cannot come into someone else with a search warrant without a camera, body cam, because too much things are going on.
Yeah,
People are
and-
complaining things are being missing.
And they're the judge during the execution. They're in charge, and they can do anything to you right then and there.
And then the boy saying the full amount didn't show up, and then they're saying
That's been going on
he
for
ain't show up
years.
in court. None of them show up in court to arrest him. So this type of paradigm is what's going on
That's
right
what's
now.
going on. Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. But who's going to push for this, Gucci?
Well,
The 21st century, you entering people's homes without a camera. You beating them, you doing them. One time they snatch up my hair and slap me while they handcuffed. So this is what's going on, Squishy. They saying this is what you are. You're a dog. They just said you is. Now, if you was white, this would never happen, Squishy.
yeah.
It's just what it is. Be pathetic. Bless up, man.
Yeah, bless up. And I like what the caller saying. In some incidents, what happens is the police be looking for suspects who are involved in these murders or suspect murders, and in cases they be over aggressive looking for these gentlemen. And sometimes they do abuse their power when they go into these residents, because people are poor and they have all the power. And this in turn leads them to be corrupt. That's why the body cameras are very important when you're going into homes of poor people, because and sometimes the people could be very aggressive who are in the house as well too towards the police. So because they are untrained themselves, the parents, because the police would come there and say etc. But the police supposed to present search warrant in some cases, and then they should know how to address themselves when they do go in these houses, how to be polite and how to talk to residents, not to be cursing and being a bully to the people's family-wise in the house, because, we have these things going. So the caller is completely correct. Caller, I want to give a shout out to my cousin Keaton Kevy. I see they're listening to the show, and then I want to really get to my outline of the Davis administration, because now they are being focused. We never know where to start, so they're starting somewhere, because in this crime problem we're having in this country, we don't know where to start. But it seems now that the government is going to start with the economy, education, and crime for a 12-month period. Yeah. Respect, cause Keaton Debbie. We're going to take this call real quick. They're still there? They left? Good. Yeah. And like I said, you listen to what the Commissioner of Police stated about persons charged with murder last year are out this year for murder. And that is catastrophic for our country. We need to put preventative measures in place so that we don't have guys go into prison or thinking about going to prison, because we have to get ahead of the problem. So let me just read. Though the Honorable Prime Minister didn't provide specifics, Philip Brave Davis said that his administration will focus on education, growing the economy, and tackling the scourge of violent crime in the country over the next year. So they're starting something. That means all the programs, I guess, the Ministry of National Security Advisors Board, and et cetera, the police. They're going to bring community leaders on board, bring the churches on board, and they're going to focus their resources on the reduction of crime and tackling the scourge of crime in the country over the next year. Davis spoke at the 32nd Annual Bahamas Business Outlook, said his government intends to deal with the high cost of living in the country, because this plays a very important role with crime, because things are so expensive. If we could reduce the cost of living in the country, that could be a plus. He said we will continue to pursue growth in the GDP and revenue, maximize the amount of investment in the country, and maintain efforts to reduce our debt. The Prime Minister said we will put a particular focus on reducing the cost of living and making efforts to lift people out of poverty, because poverty is the main reason for crime. I think people could have a better living, they're working. There's many options. We won't be in many of the situations we're in now, because most of these guys and females that you see involved in illegal activity, most of them are poor. They don't have nothing. The top killers ain't get nothing. You know, Mr. Burrows made it clear. And that's exactly talk about Tiger getting chopped in his head and this and that. And he asked him, say, you don't even have a car. And that's the truth. You just be cursed. You might be living a life where you taking life or harming people. But eventually, that's going to get played out. You're going to end up with nothing. And be a bum on the road. And then someone is going to take you out. And then either you're going to freak out. So it's better to use your mind for something positive. Some wise and guys out there, change your life around. Okay, let me take this real quick. Caller, you only got about 2 minutes, please. I really want to get to the topic. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good night, Squidgy. How you doing, man?
Good night.
Yeah. Hey, Squidgy,
Hey.
The Prime Minister, when he went to the police church service, you remember that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he made reference to, like, gangs in the school. They're going to look at the gangs in the school and the gangs in the prisons. But ironically, I was waiting to hear him say, and gangs coming out of Haiti, but he never said it.
Yes. Wow.
Because, that's a part of our problem, too, because we don't know who's here.
Yes, you're correct, sir.
And these persons are just walking around, and you see these fake new faces, but we don't know who they are. We don't know what.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Not to cut you off. How come everyone is seeing these new faces and the government is not seeing it?
The government, I guess, selectively, they don't want to see it. They want us to be blind as government and let it just be, and the manifestation of it, we are
That's dangerous.
It's very, very, very
We're
dangerous.
seeing all kind of new faces every day. We're sitting down in the inner city community and seeing people every day, different faces.
Very, very dangerous.
Yes.
You know, because these individuals, we don't, like I said, we don't know who they are. We don't know what they did. We don't know if they came out directly out of the prison for, you know, and they're here, but they're allowed to be. But you know what, ironically, when you were speaking about our 1970s problem with the drug era.
Yes, sir.
Right. But you never bothered to even stick. Well, there are more persons here who we don't even know about and their problem. And the Bahamas, and that problem is never as bad as Haiti's problem when it comes to drugs, crime, kidnapping, and all the
Yes,
all
sir.
the you see what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir.
we are basically not, at least the government is basically putting the citizenry in harm's way.
Yes, there is. They are.
And it's like the authorities, it's like, you know what it's like? It's like we are, okay, I put it black and white. All of us are black, right? But there are blacks amongst us who are better than us, who are above the law, and it's shown and it's known that the government don't even act on anything as regards to persons who come from Haiti. Only once in a while you may see it, look like people getting apprehended, but then the punishment is nothing.
Yes.
The free flights back. You know, we got to change that, because guess what? The person can spend like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 just to get on a boat to come here. Why is the government like to say we have to pay for these persons to be back because they don't have any money? You know, that's just ludicrous, because when I look around, these people, they live in better places than Bahamians. The last administration made sure that even persons who are living in shanty towns are now living in neighborhoods all sprinkled across the Bahamas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In the best places, i.e. Paradise Island, you know. They're talking about Governor's Harbor. Every single place you can imagine.
Harbor Island.
Every place you can imagine. Let me show you something how bad it is, right? The Bahamians in this Bahamas are not good enough to be inside. Even the elite Bahamians houses to do anything, to clean the yard, to paint, to do anything. But they will have these persons around them with confidence, all of it, everything they have. But these people, they don't allow Bahamians to even go on their property. When they get land, they make sure they put fence up, they put a top, they make sure you can't see inside there. To go inside is a different story. But we, as Bahamians, we feel comfortable to allow persons we don't even know to be all through our everything. And they tell their people and they let them know what's going on. And then you wonder, why, what happened to this and that? And you got your person around you who you trust so much, but they don't even speak English. You don't know what they're saying around you. You don't know what they're doing around you, but you feel comfortable because they ain't talking your business to your friends who are Bahamians. You know, we got to change the whole paradigm, man, because we trust people who we don't know, people who we know we don't trust.
Yeah. And I just want to add this on to your part of the story. What if some of these people come illegally on these sloops and they bring a quantity of $1 million worth of drugs in the country, and then they use that to their benefit?
You know that's
what's
going
going
to
on.
buy their way through to put whatever they want, whatever they need, and whatever position they want to be in, or even like let's say persons who are here, who we look at them as persons say, yeah, but they good, but these persons who they got like let's say behind them.
Wow.
These same people who are doing these things and they are front pretending.
Yeah.
You understand? Hey, but Scrooge,
Hey.
you know, when you talk about that thing, I was served an incident happened 2.5 years ago. A guy tried to kill me, right?
Yeah.
And I saw him a couple of days ago, right? Now let me show you something. You know, let me show you something. And then, you know, eye to eye, right face to face, this guy, we talk, right? And it's like, the average person would be like, yeah, somebody got to lay on the ground, I believe, because you did this to me. But you know what it was? You know, I look at this man's face, right?
Yeah.
And I knew him a long time ago, right? And I look at his face, you know, he's right there. And he's saying, you know, he's sorry, this and that, and that. He's, you know,
Yeah,
but you know what? Me as a person, right? I as a child, I say, you know what? I ain't never harm nobody or nothing, right?
Yes,
and all I tell him is, but you know what you trying to do to me, you know, I'll never do to you.
Right.
All right? And you know what? You know, and you did that. You know what? Me as a person, you ain't got to worry about come behind your back here. Because guess what? Whatever happens, all is got to die.
Yes, so one day.
All is got to die. And I just hope when it come your time, you are ready.
That's
and
right.
You cost me 12 hours in the emergency room.
Wow,
And you
no
know what?
pain.
My blood pressure was 180 over 280. My compressor don't come that kind of pressure, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you know what? You see, in life, all of us, we got to understand no matter what. This life, all is come to death.
Yeah. Be
All
all
right?
right.
You know, if you feel like you can take someone's life, just be mindful when it comes time for you.
It could be a time. Yeah, it could be a time.
Everybody,
It could be a time.
you know, and see, guess what? In this life, all like I say, all of us are going to die, and at the end of the day, it's about acceptance.
Old age.
And
Old
when you
age.
don't accept what's coming to you, then it's a problem. Then you freaking out and thing like that. You know, when you accept this life that, you know what, you ain't here forever. All right, when it comes time for that to happen. And then you start to put all this fear in because you get dead. We can't live like that. We have to be free persons, free mind, and free beings. We can't be worrying about, they get dead, and this one needed, and then we go to, and you know what, let me show you something ironic too, right? When I went to the doctor for that same incident, you know, the doctor telling me, look at me with the face, why you pressure like this? You a man? You realize you could die? You could die? I look at the doctor and I tell her, I said, man, why are you telling me that? You realize that you are going to die also?
Yes.
You know, this fear tactic that they put on you, you know what? And if you believe them, you will die.
Yeah.
All right, so in this life, as humans, we need to know who we are, and know your body, and know that the body is heal itself. But sometimes we give our hold everything up to strangers.
Yes.
All right? But we feel bad when we go to the doctor. The doctor tired of people. Every day someone come complaining, and you coming back 50 times, they tired of you.
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Yes,
in
sir.
life, we got to understand, we got to take care of ourselves. When you at your lowest point, you will give yourself to somebody and say that they can do something like that for you, or you got friends talk, you got friends lawyer, you got friends this and that, beliefs and this and that.
Yeah.
When they come to this life, all of us, when it comes to that judgment, we buy ourselves alone. Wake up, people.
Yes, sir.
Wake up.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, bless it.
Yeah, man, you did a wonderful job, man.
Yeah, man, bless it.
Yeah,
man.
Thank you very much. You did a wonderful
man.
job of giving some insights just now. I want to say thanks to Keaton Kevy. I also, Macaz, respect family. You're doing well. Proud of you. John Pinder. Okay, respect, Mr. Pinder. Yes, John. John Pinder. Long time. Yeah, enough respect, Keaton Kevy. My two cousins. Keaton Kevy, they're doing a wonderful job down there in the Grantstown community. And the caller gave us a mouthful just now. But the government now is focusing on a 12-month program dealing on the economy, education, crime to receive priority attention. I think now that we understand that we have to start somewhere, and we have to deal with this crime issue in the country. Based on all the statistics we have here in Pasadena boroughs. C.B. Moss now in this induced coma, and he has been advocating for over 30 years about empowerment to the inner city youths, investing governments to make it a priority, like how the Honorable Prime Minister is making this a priority. And I think that we could make a stump in making a reduction of those going to Fox Hill if we bend the tree before the tree get tall. And that comes with inner city development, family island development, because on the family islands of Abaco, Eleuthera, Andros, they are in the city also, and we have to bring productive programs. You know, Graham mentioned last week what about teaching the kids in school about money management, anger management, and etc. And then, for me, these inner city communities, they are not equipped with the right tools to be able to deal with kids because there's no proper infrastructure. The parks need to be active year-round. The churches have to be active year-round. The community leaders got to be active year-round. We have to build community centers and find ways on how we can create small businesses in the inner city community. Combining these efforts together, where we start to change the mindset of the kids before they even reach the fact of going to a boys' industrial and then go into the prison. You see, so this economy, education, and crime are the received priority. It's a step in the right direction. You know, caller saying that we must deal with this. Yeah, crime. Crime is the biggest thing we got to deal with in the country. Okay, immigration, etc. We can take this last call real quick. Caller, you could get in within a minute. You gotta make it real quick. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Scoochie, what's up, man?
Good night.
Yeah, another thing, respect to 52. You know, you called some names there, but that hit home to me. Eagles and my son was Eagles' best friend, Beaver. You know what I mean? So 52, I probably know 52 too, because I went to St. John's as well.
Okay.
But I hear you hitting on the thing with the Prime Minister read out the night, but in his 12-month plan, he mentioned crime, but immigration goes along with crime.
I agree.
You understand? And he never see. Sometimes, Coochie, we got to listen to what these politicians saying.
I agree.
You know, the nation is up in arms right now over this immigration problem.
Yes, we should.
Never once did he mention immigration.
Yes.
And that is sad. You understand me? So he telling the Bahamian people outright, immigration ain't really on my agenda. No matter how bad it gets.
But it's on our agenda because we seeing the repercussion now of this immigration problem.
Yeah, but see, he waiting until this thing, to see this snowball of Lincoln Bain and them. They waiting to see us politicians see if that could mushroom into a bigger snowball. Because if it don't, it just ain't on their agenda.
Wow.
He would have said that. You understand?
Yes, sir. Wow. Oh, sorry. He had to cut you because we completely don't time and crime and based on time. But you make some great points. Like I said, you only had a minute or two because we are actually 7:59. We have to be off air 8 o'clock. So I want to apologize for cutting you. It wasn't me as a producer because he is always be on time. I want to say thanks to my cousin Keaton Kervy. Again, John Pinder. He said we must deal with this crime issue. 52 is great. Not really. He's talking with the Prime Minister and he is human. But the caller made great reference because we have to be able to deal with the illegal immigration problem along with crime because many of those end up crime products because they become a part of the system here in the country and cause strain. If you look at the prison, you can see many last names of Haitian nationals, you know. And we have to be able to deal with it because we are seeing them moving through the inner city communities without remorse. And we're talking about those. We ain't talking about the said who been here for 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? We're talking about the said who coming on the sloops, bringing in the drugs, bringing in the guns, and like one of the callers said, they could be soldiers or gangsters coming from Haiti, coming here to do illegal activities, looking for a better way of life, and at the same time corrupt the bombers and cost the country the way it is with Bahamians and all of us alike, where it's just everyone look like they're losing a loved one to this crime issue in this country. Okay? It's like when we asked to put the blood of the lamb, and Moses was told to put the blood of the lamb on the door, and the Lord would come run, and wherever the blood of the lamb was not on, the firstborn would have died. It's like that what has happened in our country to each and every one in the country. Could you imagine the repercussion knowing that the police commissioner Clayton Fernandez states that people who charged for murder last year is out this year? It's disaster. So preventative measures. Like again, I'll close it on the show on this. Economy, education, and also make an immigration making an immigration. Okay? So I hope you enjoy the show. I'll see you next week on Saturday in the City on Guardian Radio 96.9. Enjoy your Friday night. All right? John Pindler, Keaton Kevy, bless us. You all have a wonderful, wonderful night. And to all the callers, see you next week on Inside in the City.
I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Baytown, bro. Boy, I from Baytown, bro.